The South African National Taxi Council, SANTACO, says the National Land Transport Amendment Bill will not address competition and other concerns in the industry. This came out of the Competition Commission's market inquiry into land transport. The inquiry seeks to address concerns that may prevent, distort or restrict competition in an industry that transports 15 million people daily. Well, our reporter, Liabo Setho, is covering the inquiry at Constitutional Hill in Braamfontein. Thanks very much, Liabo. SANTACO is an important organization that can help us understand the industry point of view. What have they told the Commission so far about how they conduct themselves?
Nompu, yes, you are absolutely correct. SANTACO is a very important stakeholder, particularly in the public transport sector. And the market inquiry right now is at an information gathering system. So what they've basically done is given questions to different people who will be making submissions to answer them so that they try to understand their point of view. One of the first things that the president or the chairperson of SANTACO said when he took the stand was to answer the issue of the amendment bill, which he says that at the moment they feel that it does not address their concerns. It will not do what it seeks to do. And in fact that they have not been consulted as stakeholders about this bill, and that they would like more consultation. But I am joined by the communications manager at SANTACO, Mr. Tabisho Mulelekwa, who help us understand better why they have a concern with this bill, Nompu. Mr. Tabisho, thank you very much for your time. You have a concern with the amendment bill. Please take us through what your concern is.
The fact of the matter is that this bill will ultimately translate into law that will govern the taxi industry, and without our input or our consideration of our input, it would have adverse effect on the taxi operations in the country. Our biggest gripe, however, is that one, the current act of government of the National Land Transport Act does not recognize taxi associations which were in its predecessor, which was called the National Land Transport Transition Act. And secondly is that we view the current taxi operations as important to the point that we need to have SANTACO recognized by the current act, which is not currently there. And these two fundamental issues which are absent in the current act has created this concern from our side as to what will happen when the act is ultimately promulgated into law.
Okay. Let's talk about the good and the bad of the industry that you operate in. The bad, firstly, being the fact that, there's a lot of concerns about how taxi drivers conduct themselves on the roads, the safety concerns of unroadworthy taxis, the concerns of passengers themselves who are not treated courteously. What are you doing at SANTACO to educate your drivers, to educate the sector, and to make it better so that I, as a commuter, have a good experience when I take my taxi from the SABC and go back home?
Well, we acknowledge that there are those challenges, firstly, and secondly, we also are aware that there is some ill treatment, particularly here in Johannesburg and in some other parts of the country. There is improvement, for example, in provinces like the Northern Cape, in provinces like Mpumalanga, in provinces like KZN, where customer service has drastically improved. However, we understand that for many years, drivers and the taxi industry at large has been under the impression that we do commuters a favor, when the reality is the opposite. And this is why we have embarked on an initiative to continue to train drivers on the need for customers' care, because the taxi industry is the multi-billion industry that it is today because of the very commuters that we are ill-treating. And this is why we want to say SANTACO gives them an opportunity to engage with them through our various platforms, whether it's Twitter, whether it's direct line, whether it's through our website, to raise their issues and concerns, and where they felt ill-treated, they should be able to engage with us. One thing we put fundamentally clear as SANTACO is that commuters should not allow themselves to board unroadworthy taxis, as that put their lives at risk. And when they are forced, we are more than happy to deal with those issues head on.
Let's talk about the good. You're responsible for ferrying 15 million commuters per day. That is a lot of people. And also you have created a lot of businesses where, because market or entry, ease of entry into this industry is quite open, right? How many businesses and how many business people have you created? How many lives have you changed?
I would not be able to give you the exact figures, but these cuts across formal and informal businesses. You've got hawkers, you've got retailers which are now designing their businesses around taxi ranks because of the traffic and the activity that goes around it. And we believe that alone is an indication of the potential of the taxi industry and its contribution of about 120 billion rands towards the economy of the country, mainly coming from those various streams that I have just mentioned. And we are saying it is therefore only important for government to consider this role and be able to translate it into issues of concern that we are raising and address them accordingly.
Mr. Mlelekwa, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it, but I'm afraid that's all we have time for this hour. Nompu, I would encourage our viewers to really follow this market inquiry, because I know that most of us rely on the taxi industry. If it's not taxis, it's buses. And here we will find out exactly what the intention is, and do they plan on growing? How will they deal with the issue of safety for passengers, roadworthy vehicles, and all of those things? And you can trust the SABC, the new SABC, to bring you this market inquiry until its very, very end, and we will be covering it throughout. And with that, it's back to the studio.
Thanks very much, Liabo. KPMG says it will